All right, now it is time to welcome our next guest in a segment we call Pup Cutz. Tammy Rodgers is an innovator in the mobile dog grooming business. She has a company called Puparazzi, and she has taken this old traditional mobile grooming model and she's made it awesome, where pups are actually treated like they're Hollywood celebrities. And Tammy joins us now from Surprise, Arizona. Tammy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you with us. Tell us about when your love for dogs came about. Was there a moment that just sparked this passion in your life?
I've always been the animal kid. So animals of all kinds, whether they were lizards to birds, to dogs, to cats, I was always very much into animals. But as I got older in my early teens, I don't know, I wanted to always try to trim my parents' dogs. And so I started kind of do it yourself at home, not really knowing what I was doing. And that sparked my parents is like, oh, hey, maybe she could groom our dogs. And so they bought me some cheap clippers and some scissors. And, I worked on my own parents' poodles. And then that was just a kind of a passion for me. I really enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I wasn't that good at it at that time. Didn't know what I was doing, but I certainly wanted that as a job. I thought that was just and I was young. I was 14. So,
wow.
I mean, who knows at 14 what you're really doing anyways, but that was something I wanted to do.
That is so great. So this obviously this passion sparked early for you, which is such a gift to start really gaining, that experience and wisdom. Did you ever end up doing any formal training, or did you just keep kind of building on the knowledge that you had?
As far as training went, I had a girlfriend of mine that we were in school together, and she had known a poodle breeder that was local here in Arizona. And she was taking, I don't know, it really wasn't classes, but she was going over there and was learning. So she then invited me to go over there and learn. And so I learned just the basics, face, feet, tail on a poodle, and a lot of book type training, because again, the only hands-on I could have was with whatever animals I personally owned. And then she had poodles. So of course it was all poodles. And then, we don't see poodles nowadays like we used to. That back then poodles were very popular. Right. So that's what we learned, I learned on, and that then became my basic training. And then all my rest of my training was very self-taught by reading books. We didn't have videos like they do now, like YouTube. The girls, I always tell the girls that anybody breaking into the industry now, I'm like, you guys have it so easy compared to what we had. Your tools are better, everything's better than it was back in the 80s. If I date myself, I've been doing this a long time, and we didn't have that physical being able to watch somebody do it. It was a book, and you got to see a sketch drawing, and it was what blade length and what angle to put your clipper at, and that was kind of how I learned.
That's so interesting. And what a great breed to learn on too, poodles. Yeah. I mean, so many opportunities to do so many different cool things. So that is so fun. How did you decide to get into the mobile pet grooming part of the industry?
Well, mobile I broke into late in life. I went through a divorce in 2008, and I had to go back. I was married to a man that basically was the breadwinner, didn't really want me to work anymore. So I had kind of left the industry for a couple of years and broke back into it and worked part-time for a veterinary hospital, and also did their styling there just to get me out of the house because I hated being at home. And when I went through the divorce, I wasn't bringing in a ton of money because my job was very part-time, and it made me it humbled me to the effect that I couldn't stand on my own 2 feet. I literally needed to go back to work. And I always say that my trade which I firmly believe in to pay my bills, was available to me. So I knew I could go back to work and make money, but I had to get myself to a position where I could afford to live on my own. So for 2 years, I tell people I lived back with my parents with my kids, and to try to get back on my feet. And during that time, I was working at a local. It was like a doggy daycare. They had grooming. They had a little bit of everything under one roof. And I opened up their grooming department. And while doing so, I realized, and no disrespect for people who are younger, but my manager was the age of my kids. And he had really very little experience in working with animals. And his idea of customer service and mine didn't align. And so I thought, why am I doing this? And everybody was like, just do it on your own. You just need to do this by yourself. You know, you can have your own business. And I thought that was kind of a light bulb moment for me. And I had a little bit of money from a 401k that I got from the divorce that was just sitting in there. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And at that moment, it was something that I started doing some investigating on my own of like what it looks like to open a shop. And then I dabbled with the idea of mobile. And mobile just made more business sense to me, and it was something completely different. But there was a stigma with mobile for many years that it was very dirty and unreliable, and the vehicles weren't attractive. And to me personally, I would never want to put my animal in some of the things I saw driving around. Sure. And I thought, gosh, I want to go mobile, but I don't want to be like that.
You wanted to do it your way, which we know is fancy and amazing.
It's very fancy. Yeah.
You are great. And here's the thing. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that story with us of the hardships in your life that led to great things. You know, all hard things can be used for good. And I so appreciate you sharing that story because you know what? Some dog moms might be watching right now and thinking, gosh, I can't do that thing that I really want to do, whatever it is, right? Because of life circumstances, but you humbled yourself. You moved in with your parents. You helped provide for your children. And now you are doing great things and you're doing what you love every day. Because I see that sparkle in your eye, Tammy, that's for sure. Yeah. So tell me about Puparazzi. How did you decide to name your business that? And tell me all about it, because I know it's amazing. It's fabulous, darling. Let's go.
Well, Puparazzi came about because both of my kids, I was that crazy mom. So again, working for yourself gave me a little bit of freedom, time and freedom, allowed me to run my own schedule. Both my kids drugged me to one of these talent years ago when they were young, and it was always their idea. I never want people to think that I was one of those moms that pushed their kids into this industry or, you know, you need to do this. They drugged me there. They heard about it. Both kids were like, let's go, Mom. And I'm like, I don't really want to do this. I remember sitting in the back of this event. I call it a cattle call because that's literally what it was. And I was all grubby from working all day. And I was like, you know what? You're on your own. Go stand in the line. Do your thing. I don't know what we're doing here, but I'm here and I'll sit in the back. And if you get picked up and somebody says you're invited to this big talent event that is going to come up in the next 6 months, and you're invited, because again, it was by invitation only, and they bring in like 50 agents from around the country, agents, you know, modeling and talent agents, and you get an opportunity to showcase yourself on whether or not they want to represent you. So anybody knows anything about the entertainment industry, it's kind of difficult to break into. My kids, I don't know, they thought they were going to do this. So I was like, I'm the supportive mom. So I was, and unbeknownst to me, down the road, both my kids went to that. They were invited to attend, not one, but both. And I'm like, great, now I got both kids doing this. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I showed up, and then they went to the big event where all the 50 agents were there. And both of them were offered representation, not here in Arizona, but in LA. And I thought, oh, lovely. How am I going to pull that off? So I was that crazy mom that would get an email or a phone call from their agent the day before, and they'd be like, we need Colton or Taylor in LA, 4 p.m. next day for an audition for this, for Zoe 101, or for this or that. And I'd be like, okay, here we go. Got to adjust my schedule. And out the door we'd run. I'd take off at 6 a.m. so I could get there, so I could prep them. We'd stay the night, and I'd drive home the next day. So when it came to naming my business, both my kids were in the industry. They had broken into the industry. And I was that crazy mom that, loved dogs and pets and made them pretty and everything. And I was like, how do I fuse that together and come up with a really cool name that nobody else is using? And at the time, nobody else was using it. And call it Puparazzi. And instead of,
Smart.
It's where your pet's the star. It's not the person, it's the pet.
Yes.
And so we really believe in having a good positive experience, making your pets, beautiful, and treating them like the stars that they are. Because in their homes, we know that they're treated like stars. Most pet parents love their animals and will do anything for them. So that was how I fused it together, was my kids' crazy ideas and my industry.
Well, then there's more buy-in from them too, right? And it's kind of a family affair, so everybody's having a good time with it. And Puparazzi's a fun name. And I think of celebrities and I think of hair, and I think of people who might come to you who want some like out there dog hairdos. Have you had any crazy requests?
Yes. I wouldn't consider them crazy, because I feel like people they really want to have fun, right? So if I can bring it and make it happen for them, I think that's wonderful. I personally have a creative side to me, and I like to do some of the creative stuff. I just don't have the clients that will allow us to do it, right? They're kind of like, I'm not so sure about that, but I have a few that just recently, as a matter of fact, asked, can you do a mohawk on my dog? They got all excited about a mohawk, and I was like, sure, I can do a mohawk. And he turns out really super cute, and it gives him his little character and who he is as a puppy. And so then I just re-groomed him recently, and I said, do you want to keep the mohawk, or do you want me to let it grow back out? Because it's hair, right? It grows. Right. And they're like, oh no, keep it. We loved it. We absolutely loved it. We gel it up, and so they have fun with it,
Yeah, of course. I mean, you got to think about going to the park or taking a walk in the neighborhood. I mean, you're going to have some people talking to you and saying some things. That's like a walking advertisement for you, actually.
Right. It is. And you always pray that that it's what people like that becomes that advertisement, and not that haircut where they're going, I don't know about that.
Yes, exactly. Well, I love your spirit of, hey, I can do it. And, I think about it too. Like, say when we go to get our hair done and we go to a stylist and we say, oh, just do what you think. What do you think would look good? That has to make you happy when you hear that every once in a while.
That is me. That's me for my hairstylist. She always goes, I wish everybody was like you, so easygoing. I'm like, hey, I know what it's like. I'm styling dogs. I know it's a little different, but same thing for me. Do what you think looks good.
Yes, it's about feeling good. And we feel good when that's the case, and our dogs feel good when they get fluffed up. In fact, my dog that looks like this, actually, a little, a cockerdoodle poo. His name is Louie. He is so amazing. He got fluffed up today. And you know what? He came home and he felt awesome. He's like walking around the house. If he was nearby, I'd put him in the shot with us, Tammy. But he's like sticking out his chest a little more. He's like, yeah, I look good. I look good. It's so funny.
It's funny how they know, right?
They do.
After they've had their spa day.
Yes. So I'm curious, what are your goals for your business? I know you're an innovator. You are such an incredibly smart and gifted businesswoman. So what are some of your kind of short-term goals for Puparazzi?
Well, after about 4 years in the business, I was getting the common question or assumption that we were a franchise. I don't know why. People were like, they would leave a message. They're like, oh, I'm assuming you're a franchise. It was never written on our vans or anything. And I thought, well, that must be, I'm a kind of a person that believes that, I'm kind of guided. So I feel like something was trying to tell me something at that point. And I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to be a franchise. Yeah. People think we're bigger than we are. And so maybe I'm supposed to be bigger. And, when I launched it, it was just a owner operator, single van operation, just me. But I was getting so many calls and turning away so much business that, we needed to add another van. So then I had to hire employees. And as much as you have employees don't always have the same value to your business that you do because it's yours, right?
Right.
So my goal was not to continue to expand on an employee line, but to allow my system, what I had tried and true and knew it worked, made the mistakes, figured out better ways to do things, became more efficient. How do I duplicate success, and how do I teach that?
Good question.
And how do I train that? And my whole thing is I wanted to share that because I knew where I came from. And I thought there's got to be other women out here that are single moms, maybe going through a rough patch, don't feel like they can stand on their own 2 feet. And if I can duplicate that and teach that and inspire another woman to do what I did, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a woman, but I mean, I feel like I connect really well with those single moms because I've been there and I understand the fear that went in it to make that big leap of faith in yourself. So my whole thing was, can I share that with somebody? And so instead of me just having everybody be an employee, they become their own business owner. They become their own owner operator, but they're not in business for themselves. They have a support system. They have somebody who's got 40 plus years of experience in the industry to help them, to coach them, to train them, to mentor them, and teach them from the ground up how to do this business and take away all the mistakes that I made along the way. And they can just make it a very easy turnkey operation.
That is incredible. That support, that care for your employees, and your desire to really empower women, and as you said, men too, but in this case, we're Dog Mom News, so we can talk about women. I love it. I love your heart of service and giving back. And like you said, remembering where you came from, keeping that humility about you. It's just a beautiful thing to see. And us women, we need to link arms and do that for one another more. So I love that, Tammy. And I know you also give back to your local community, and you're very active in your community and local organizations as well.
We are part of we have a philanthropy side to our franchise. So part of what we do in appreciation to the community is we raise money for a local, so each franchise will partner with either a local animal shelter or a local nonprofit, a real rescue, not just anybody say they rescue dogs. We want a true nonprofit that operates as a nonprofit. And what we do is we support them with their adoptions, which means we try to, any of their pets that are trying to get adopted, we post them on our paparazzi sites, looking for homes. So we're instrumental in those dogs that need a good grooming. We just did a big thing with our local rescue where an entire backyard of multi-poo mixed dogs that had been groomed, and I couldn't tell you how long, matted, just hot messes.
Oh, no. Yes.
They took all these dogs on, and not only were they were like kind of feral because they weren't being handled. So they were scared of everything. And so I took time out of my schedule, and on a Sunday, I spent over 6 hours, 2 different times, grooming up all of those dogs for free to get them all homes. And we named every one of them, and we named it because it was at Christmas time. So we named them all Christmas themed movie themes. So we had Ralphie from like the Christmas Story, and we had Clara, and all these different cute little names. And all of these dogs got homes because we showed the process of doing it, and then we showed after pictures. They were able to promote them, and they were able to get we called them the Fluffies. And we got them all home. So those are things we do. And for this past, just 2 weeks ago, I did our big bailout for our AZ Canine rescue that we work with. And every year I'm part of their annual bailout, where we go to a location and we don't leave until we make the money that is our bail amount. And so this year my bail was set at $1,500, and I literally bail for dollars until I can go home. And I make a fool of myself. I literally do whatever it takes to earn my $1,500 so that I can go home. And there are times I've been there locations till 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I am still a fool trying to raise money, but
Good.
I raise it. The thing is, I've done it for 9 years. I am one of their originals that when they started this fundraiser, it's one of their biggest fundraisers. They usually raise $18,000 to $20,000 in this big
Wonderful.
fundraiser, but it goes to pay all their medical. It's just a way of giving back. But that's something that each franchisee is taught, and giving back can look many different ways. It could be complimentary toenail trims once a quarter. It could be, a blanket drive at Christmas time. And we do all kinds of fun things to give back and help them out.
Awesome. Awesome, Tammy. I'm thinking about some of these rescue dogs that you serve and shelter dogs, but I'm also thinking about how you have this heart where you kind of, you want to treat everyone the same, which with that same approach to animals too, whether they're from fancy high-end clients or they're the dog that got rescued off the street. What are some of the important qualities that you think that groomers need? I mean, you're known as the pet whisperer, so I want you to share some insight with us and how you approach this with that, that posture of love, I think, for each dog.
I believe you really, if you're going to break into this industry, or if you're currently in the industry, you have to love what you do.
Right.
Animals and we have an energy. There's just, I don't know how to explain it.
Sure.
It's a connection. And so when they're approached with love or kindness, they respond differently to you, but they feel your bad days too. They feel the days that you don't feel good. And I don't think people realize that they bring that energy to the table, so to speak. So it's really important, and I've even had these conversations with clients. It's important for me to be in my right frame of mind when I work on their animal, because even if that bad day isn't about that dog, it affects that dog. And I feel like people need to realize that that's a transfer of energy, whether it be positive or negative. And it's important to be in the right frame of mind. And if you're not that kind of person, working with animals is not really the thing for you. It's not something you should do. We have horses. We do national horsemanship with our horses. And it's all about how you are with them, and to get the response so that it's more of a willing response and not a forced response. Yes. But that takes time, takes patience, takes body awareness of yourself. Our bodies, animals don't hear us, they feel us. What we say, we don't have to say anything. Our body posture tells them everything. And so I feel like people need to understand that. I think that's why I have always had difficult dogs throughout my life, that people somehow seek me out and find me, and they're like, nobody will do my dog. It's been kicked out of 3 grooming shops. I don't know what to do. And usually they're just very misunderstood. And they're scared and they're reactive. And you've got to work through that. I take on a lot of clients like that just have had very misunderstood dogs. And because they've been mishandled, misunderstood, they don't respond well in a grooming environment. And that takes time to gain their trust and get them to trust you, to allow you to do what you're asking of them.
There you go.
So that's just my feeling on, working with them. I feel like it's not a job for everybody. You really have to have a good mindset about you. So it's something even I look at even as when I'm looking for a franchisee. It's about building relationships, and I feel like they have to have that same ideology about them that I have to make it a good fit for everybody. I want everybody to be happy in the end. I don't want them to not think that they want to be a part of the business a year after they're in it. You know what I mean? I would rather you just not do it. So it's got to be a good fit for everybody. And that's something I can't teach all of that. I do like to coach that, but it has to be in you.
Right. There you go. It does. And it might not be, you might not be meant to work in the industry. I like that, Tammy. It's not for anyone or everyone, but I love that discernment about you. That it's probably a large part of why you're so successful, because you choose people that are like-minded and where your values align in the company. That makes a lot of sense.
That's more important than a mass amounts of people out there.
There you go.
I can't say that enough. Someone's like, oh yeah, you could have like 100 franchises, but if I have 100 franchises and the people and I are not on the same page, that's not good. So it's really important to find those people you connect with, that they become family, right? You want somebody to be part of your family.
Yes.
And grow together.
Customers coming back time and time again too. And I'm curious, Tammy, how can us dog moms help wonderful groomers like you and the time in between? So we bring in our dog to you and you make them look lovely. You know, what are your top tips for dog moms as far as, you know, putting in the time, right? And putting in the energy, you know, the time in between. You know, just like you were saying, not everybody's meant to be a groomer. I think we need to be careful as dog moms that we're choosing breeds that we can actually maintain, right? I mean, that's a big thing. Yes. Correct.
We just had this conversation. I find it funny. A couple days ago, one of my customers and I were talking, and she just got this. Well, she didn't just get it, but I just groomed her doodle puppy for the first time, a full grooming. And because again, I don't know what it is with the doodle breeders, but they don't seem to educate the pet parent on when it's important to start the grooming process. And I am old school. I'm like, the sooner the better. Okay. Get them in, get them used to this. Even if it's just a basic bath and a nail trim and we don't have to cut the hair, it's all about that routine and the handling that makes it easier for the animal as they age. Because when they're little, yeah, they don't really care as much. And then as they start to get a little bit older in the puppyhood, they start developing those fears, right? But if you catch it early, I'm an earlier than a later person, but I find that the doodle people, they bring their dogs to us when they're 7 and 8 months old, and they've got a whole bunch of hair. They were not really taught how to properly brush them. Right. And so they're matted, and they go, but don't cut him short because we like him this way. But he's a mess.
A matted mess underneath.
Oh my goodness. It's so crazy. And we just had this conversation, and there are a lot of dog. I don't know how else to explain it, but if your lifestyle might not be a doodle parent, you know, you might not have the lifestyle to be a doodle owner, and they're expensive to maintain as far as grooming. And I don't think they're ever told that. And because I just did this one, he's a medium, and he took me 2 hours for his first haircut. And the owner was like, she couldn't believe it. She was like, oh, wow, I didn't think it would take that long. And I'm like, well, he had a whole bunch of hair I had to dry. And then just working with him as a puppy, and now he's bigger and wild. And so training, I can't say enough, get basic training for your pets. So just some basic understanding of sit and, you know, allowing us to touch their feet, brushing them on a regular basis. And that means not just the top of them, but brushing their whole bodies, brushing all the way down their legs, so that they're so accustomed to having that done that when they get on the table, it's not like a rude moment for them. Like, what are you doing to me? Right. Because then we're always the bad person. I always say, please don't make me the bad person.
No,
please don't make me the one that has to make them do this.
Experience for luxury, Tammy. We know this. It's paparazzi. You know, you want to give them a wonderful experience. I'm curious, Tammy, if our audience wants to keep informed on what's going on with Puparazzi, what is the best way for them to go ahead and do that?
Well, we have a website. It's basically puparazzimobile.com. You'll be able to see Puparazzi. I think you'll bring it up on the screen for them. We have Instagram. It's at Puparazzi International. And then we also have Facebook, which is at Puparazzi Pet Spaw with a W at the end, SPAW. So we post all of our befores and afters and photos on those. We're interactive on all of our social media sites. Our website has, if you're interested in like franchise opportunities or learning a little bit more about the franchise, there's a whole franchise section on our website that you can go to and read about it and learn a little bit more. And then our number's on there, so you can always call. I'm the one you'll get. I am the person that will return your phone call.
You're high touch. I love it, Tammy. Tammy Rodgers of Puparazzi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks so much for watching this Dog Mom News clip. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more awesome and informative Dog Mom News content. And while you're at it, ring the bell so that you can find out about more content in real time. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, everyone.